Mr. Belding, can I talk to you about something?
Oh, sure, Jesse. My door is always open. Come sit in carrying chair. What seems to be the problem?
I've been having a hard time in class lately.
I'm here to help.
Well, I'm confused with some things.
What type of things are confusing you?
Well, I've been having a hard time at home.
Hold on a minute. Let's be careful here. Teachers are here to help with school matters, not necessarily matters at home. A student can spontaneously express sentiments or opinions, but there's some information you should never solicit from them. But let's see where this goes.
Well, I've been feeling conflicted because I think It's too hard to say.
This is between you and me. I won't tell anyone.
Depending on what Jesse says, Mr. Belding may actually be required to tell someone. That is, if the student is in imminent danger to themselves or to others. This is especially true if they are having suicidal thoughts or tendencies. In fact, if you don't say something, you can get in real trouble.
Well, I think I'm a Democrat. But I can't tell my parents because I know how they'll react.
There is nothing wrong with being a Democrat. You know, history is full of some super chill Democrats. When did you first realize that you might be a Democrat?
There's nothing wrong with Jesse becoming a Democrat, but there is something wrong with what Mr. Belding is doing right now. I feel like I need to break this down a little more for you to explain what he's doing wrong. Maybe you've heard of FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, but have you heard of Utah FERPA? If you're familiar with PPRA, Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment, then you may be familiar with Utah FERPA. Utah FERPA states that there are prohibitions on the administration to a student of any psychological or psychiatric examination, test, or treatment, or any survey, analysis, or evaluation without the prior written consent of the student's parent or legal guardian, in which the purpose or evident intended effect is to cause the student to reveal information, whether the information is personally identifiable or not, concerning the students or any family members, political affiliations, or political philosophies, mental or psychological problems, sexual behavior, orientations, or attitude, illegal, antisocial, self-incriminating, and demeaning behavior, critical appraisals of individuals who have a close family relationship with a student or one of their family members, religious affiliations or beliefs. This one's a mouthful. Legally recognized privileged and analogous relationships, such as those with lawyers, medical personnel, or ministers, and income, except as required by law. Now I want to focus on that one part. This one right here, that talks about a psychological or psychiatric examination, test, or treatment where the intended effect is for the student to reveal more information about themselves or family members. What's a treatment? That definition can be used very broadly. In our example, Mr. Belding was giving advice that could be interpreted as a treatment. Showing them a video or giving them a pamphlet could also be considered giving them a treatment. If you're ever in the situation that Mr. Belding is in, we ask you to consider a few things. Now, the first thing is, can you legally talk about it? Now, if the subject that you're talking about with the student is mentioned on the list that we just showed you, you may want to stay away from it. There's a lot of gray area in this law, and we suggest that you err on the side of caution. There is nothing that prevents a student from spontaneously sharing their beliefs or their feelings, but you shouldn't be prodding or soliciting more information from them. Now, you're in a position of power and authority, and if you ask a student a question, they may feel obligated to answer that whether they want to or not. Now, the second thing you need to be asking yourself is, are you the best person to be handling this situation? Now, you may not be trained to handle situations like this, but there may be a counselor or a principal that's a little more qualified. These people should probably know the rules on how to handle these situations. Speaking of rules, if you or your school decides to give a survey to students that talks about any of those subjects, you're gonna have to do a few things first in order to make sure that's legal. Number one, they have to get parental permission. Number two, in Utah, parents have to be given at least a 2-week notice before they administer the survey. Parents can waive that 2-week notice, but you have to give them at least 2. Number three, parents have to be given a link or a physical copy about what the survey looks like, and what questions it asks. Once those things have been done, you can then administer the survey. As a teacher, sometimes these topics are a part of the approved state standards. For example, you may be talking about political parties during history class. When you talk about these things, you shouldn't cause a student to reveal personal information about themselves or a family member. It's okay to be that cool teacher that incorporates rap into the lesson plans or lets them chew bubblegum in class. But don't try to be the cool teacher that tries to solve everyone's problems, especially problems at home. Now let's revisit our example with Mr. Belding and see how he should have responded to Jesse.
Well, I think I'm a Democrat. But I can't tell my parents because I know how they'll react.
I see. I know this is upsetting you, but I don't think I'm the most qualified person to talk to you about this. Maybe we should call one of the school counselors and see if they're available to talk to. They know a lot more about these kinds of situations than I do, and they are super chill. Let's call Mrs. Smith right now and see if she's available.
Thanks, Mr. Belding. You're the coolest.
I know.